Hello, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. We have some of the information, dial code, access code to access the webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about your complete guide to automotive search engine optimization, or SEO. So please, if you can dial into the call, see the screen, we're going to walk through this presentation today. Okay, so before we begin, again, make sure everyone's dialed in. There's two ways that you can listen to the audio. So you can either use the dial-in number on the phone or use the access code to listen on your computer. We're going to have a 35-minute webinar today. 30 minutes is going to be going through the presentation and the information to share with you guys. And the last 5 minutes we're going to have for questions. So if during the webinar you have questions about anything that I'm talking about, please feel free to go into the question box that the webinar has and just type in your questions. You don't have to wait to the end. If something comes up, a topic I'm discussing, and you have a question right off the bat, please go ahead and enter that in there, and right at the end, I'll run through them and address them. If I don't get through all the questions, if we have a bunch of them, we'll make sure to follow up after. So please ask your questions. It really helps. If you have that question, likely other people do as well. So go ahead and ask it, and I'll do my best to answer them at the end of the presentation. Please note the presentation is being recorded. Also, the deck will be available for download along with the recording following the webinar. Okay, so who's this voice over the phone? Who am I? My name is Darcy Burke. I'm the Senior Manager of Digital Solutions and SEO here at Trader. I have been in the digital marketing space for 10 plus years. I've been doing, started as a web developer and programmer and moved into search engine marketing, SEO within the last 10 years. And that's really been my core focus here at Trader, helping our dealers understand and navigate the digital space and help them understand how their website looks in search, how they can get it to appear more in search, and how they can get more traffic, leads, sales, and ultimately make more money with SEO. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with you guys today. I have a 5-part agenda for today's webinar, and it's all around the basics of automotive SEO. And this webinar is specifically focused at dealers that want to understand more about SEO and how it can help their business, and as well as marketing teams at dealerships that maybe want to expand their knowledge on what they already know about SEO and how it can help that dealership increase its bottom line, get more customers to the dealership and to their website. So 5 things we're going to cover today. We first want to understand, what is it that Google wants? If we first know what Google wants, then we can provide them what that is in order to rank and get more traffic to our sites and our dealerships. Then we need to know, okay, well, the customer, where is the customer looking for us? Where are they driving traffic? Where are they doing searches in order to understand that there's a demand for this? There's a demand for SEO. So we're going to look at a little bit of consumer behavior. Then we need to understand what Google's local search results look like. What's our goal? What are people seeing? What are our potential customers seeing in search when they're doing these queries, looking for our business before they actually find it? So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. Then before we execute any kind of an SEO campaign, it's always very beneficial, very important to understand what we're going to measure and how we can measure the success of a campaign to ensure that the things that we're doing are working. So we'll talk lightly about measurement and how to measure success of a campaign. Then we're going to end off the presentation with 6 low-effort, high-impact optimizations that you or your marketing teams can make to your websites and your digital brand today that are going to help you get more traffic immediately. And by implementing these 6 things, it's going to put you, I've been talking to dealers across the country for, at Trader for over 5 years. And doing these 6 things is going to put you ahead of more than half of the dealers out there. There's always a bunch that are doing a couple of these things, 3 or 4 of these things, but the vast majority of dealers are not executing really well on all of these 6 things. And if you execute on them, like I said, you're going to be ahead of the game. So we'll get to that at the very end. With that, we'll jump into the presentation. Okay, so introduction to SEO and understanding what Google wants. So this is Google's mission statement. Google's goal, what they're trying to do, is organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, right? Google thinks of itself almost like a librarian in a library. You're going up to the librarian and you're asking them a question, and they're going to go find that book or that search result, the best one possible for what you asked, because there's many that answer that topic, and they're going to provide it to you. And there's a number of reasons why this librarian or Google is such an expert at what they do, and they're going to ensure that of the many choices that they have to present you, they're going to take into account, based on their expertise, what they actually show you, what they're going to provide you. So think of it that way, of how Google's trying to organize their content and provide you a search result based on your question or query. So what does Google deem, how do they deem a website to be accessible and useful, right? What are the things that Google, that librarian, what are the things that they look for when choosing one site versus another? Well, it's not necessarily the easiest question. If you ask a Googler or somebody that works at Google in the search team, the typical answer they will give you, and we've seen many times over the years, is that Google has over 200 ranking factors. It's really difficult to pinpoint one or the other. You know, was it because of X or was it because of Y that made that site rank over another? It's usually a combination of over 200 things. And based off of many different experiments and tests, people like myself and SEOs believe that there's actually probably 10,000 different things that Google can potentially be looking for. Sub-ranking factors, we would call them. So it's very complex. Google looks at a lot of different things in deciding when to rank one website over the other. But let's try and understand what they're doing every time somebody types a search into Google. So this is their sort of process for ranking web pages. They first need to understand the meaning of what that customer is searching for, right? Think of if somebody typed in apple. Are they looking for the fruit, or are they looking for the company? Google needs to understand the meaning of your query. Are they looking for a local business? Are you looking for information? Are you looking for a product? They need to understand this. Then after they understand what your query is about, they want to find web pages that show relevance to that query. Simple things like, does that web page contain the keywords that were being searched for? Then, once they have an understanding of all of the websites that are relevant, they want to assess which is the best in terms of the quality of the content. Why is, you know, does one site have a one answer, a one sentence answer about that question or about that product, and where another site goes in deeper and thorough and provides more research? They want to look at the quality of the content. Why are you better than your competitor? Next, they want to look at usability, right? Does your website load quickly? Is it accessible on mobile devices? Is it accessible for people with disabilities? All of these things Google takes into account when they are looking at the usability of a web page. And then the very last thing, context and settings. Things like, where is the person located that's searching for this? What language are they searching in? This sort of thing. This is Google's process, ripped right out of their support documentation for how they do these. They run through all of these questions automatically, every single search query in hundreds, millions of a second for everybody doing their searches all day long. So just understanding that process is very important. So next, how do we insert ourselves into that process? And it's interesting because Google often tells us what to do, sort of. The response often is to just create real content. Create awesome content is the word they often use. Be better than everybody else for that search, right? If you're writing an article about comparing one model to your competitor's model, what can you put into that article that your competitors don't do? Everybody's going to compare the engine size, or everybody's going to compare the 0 to 60, but what more can you add to that article that's just going to make your content, your website, your brand clearly the best of its kind? If you can do that, if you can execute on that, if you approach SEO and content creation from that mindset, then that's what's going to make you win. That's what Google's looking for. Because what Google's trying to do is provide the best user experience for its customers, the people searching. So don't just make a website, create something awesome. And I know that's a little bit easier said than done, but what can you do to make your website awesome and accessible? So typically SEO and the optimizations around that typically fall into two categories: your on-site optimization and your off-site optimization. Now, I've listed a few things here for you to jot down, things that are absolutely critically important, things like your content, the speed of your website, title tags and meta descriptions for on-site. There's many, many other things that fall into this category, but these are some of the top level ones. Off-site things like your Google My Business listing, your reviews, your citations, links. I'm going to go much into detail. If you stick with me towards the end of the presentation here, I'm going to go into detail about all of these things and take what these important optimizations are and actually give you practical ways to implement and optimize those, like I said, today. So stick with me to the end here, and I'll share with you some of those practical optimizations for you. Okay, so summary of that. Right, there's a lot of things that Google does when displaying results for a search query. So it's not, very easy. If you do a Google search and you see yourself first or second or maybe fifth or maybe not even at all page one. It's a lot of things that go into why your site ranks where it does and why the other sites are where they are. So keep that in mind, and always ensure to make great content, not just good content. Make something awesome, and just ensure the web page basics are covered. Some of those things I touched on there, and then some of the strategies that I'm going to tell you at the end. So our next section. So consumers are driving the demand for automotive SEO. Why SEO is important is mainly all customer-based. Customers are driving why we do SEO. So this is the car buying journey process that I have for you here. This is pulled from Google Think Auto in 2018. And many manufacturers, many trader as well, many of us have a variety of studies around the car buying journey. But the real summary here is that it's about 2 months long, and it has many touch points. But there's usually a long period at the beginning where the customer's thinking about wanting to purchase a car. Maybe a life event is happening. They have a child coming. They're planning on getting married, moving to farther away from work, or maybe moving into the city. There's a thinking period of when they want to purchase a car. They have a research period where they're actively doing research for that car, understanding which car they want and where can they buy it. And then a 10-day period of actually interacting with dealers to purchase that car. So we want to, SEO can really help influence that 7-day research period and even that 10-day buying period. And that's our goal through SEO, is to really get, help influence that customer journey during the last two critical steps. And what's maybe not be surprising, maybe surprising to some and not to others, but 95% of vehicle buyers use digital as a source of information. Almost every single one of your customers has used the internet, digital media of some sort, in order to influence their purchase process, to get more information. This is a critical thing to understand, is that, dealers take, a lot of dealers take pride in their showrooms, right? And ensuring that their showrooms look amazing. The customer experience when they get in the showroom is top notch. They're clean. Their sales staff are well dressed. The cars look amazing. But if you think that 95% of your customers are online, your first brand experience with that customer is going to be your website. It's not going to be your showroom likely. And we want to make sure that you're spending that time ensuring that your website and the people are able to find your website has that same commitment to quality that your dealership does, right? And when we think about customers searching online, we're not just thinking about customers searching for, information about the different makes or models, but where we have the biggest influence on SEO is around people searching for local businesses. There's a 200% growth from 2015 to 2017 in search volume for car dealer near me, car dealership near me, Toyota dealership near me. Massive search volume and increases in people looking for local businesses and dealerships in search. And typically, when those customers are looking for these businesses and looking for these queries, these are kind of the top 10 places where they're typically finding out information. They're on Google search, number one. Then number two, they're on your website. Again, extremely important. If 95% of people are online and the number one place is Google and the second place is your website, there's a lot that we can do from SEO to impact these two properties, okay? So again, takeaways from that. Again, the consumer journey is online. It's a long and complex journey, usually around 2 months. Involves a thinking, a researching, and a buying period. Your Google search and your website are the top 2 digital touch points. Let's use SEO to make them awesome. And then again, put as much, if not more time, optimizing your online showroom. This can be your first brand experience with the customer. And if you have broken links or fuzzy images like low-res images, or your homepage doesn't look so good, that's a negative first brand experience. Let's spend the time on our online showroom as much as we do our physical one. Okay. The next section is about the evolution of Google's local search results. So when we talk about SEO, we first need to understand how our sites appear in search. How, when somebody searches for a query that we would love to get clicks for and we would love to get traffic for, what does the customer see before they get to our website? Because if we know what they see before they get to our website, we know the pieces of the puzzle that we can influence. So previously, in years past, people used to think of Google search results as 10 blue links. And that has changed dramatically over the last few years, and changes almost every few months at Google. There was a big change just this month, the last couple of weeks, in how Google search results look. They include things now like maps, images, reviews, so many different things. So 10 blue links is what we used to see. This could be an example of what you might see today for somebody looking for Ford dealer near me, perhaps. You get paid ads at the top, something which we're not going to talk about today. SEO really doesn't influence those paid ads, but everything else on the page, you can use SEO to influence. That map result, showing local businesses close to the proximity of that dealer searching or relevant to the city that dealer is searching for. Your Google My Business listing on the right-hand side, all of that information. SEO plays a part in optimizing all of that, ensuring that information is accurate for the customer. And then the organic search results down at the bottom. Also, absolutely how SEO can help influence that section as well. So why I really want to focus as well on these search results is I had mentioned previously that, okay, we got to move the mindset away from the showroom, your actual physical showroom being your first brand experience, and move that to your website being your first brand experience. A lot of people in the industry, in the SEO industry, are even taking that a step further and thinking that when somebody searches your brand name on Google, that is your first brand experience with the customer. Think about and look at my screenshot that I have here for this dealer in Toronto. Think about all of the information that Google can now show to a customer before they even get to your website. They have all your contact information, photos of your business, inside, outside, your products, your staff, reviews about your business, not just from Google, but also potentially from Facebook, DealerRater, Yelp, all these different review platforms. There's frequently asked questions. They can know when your dealership is most busy, and the opposite. And there's also potential for dealer-generated content, like tweets, or for tweets from Twitter here. So the amount of information, the brand experience that a customer can have can certainly start right from here, right from this branded search result. And SEO can influence all of these things. Okay, so a couple key takeaways here. So Google search results are constantly changing. They're always evolving. Having somebody keeping a pulse on the industry and knowing these changes as they happen, partnering with someone that can help you understand that information is critical to taking advantage of new changes as they occur. Understanding your opportunity to impact where your site shows up. That's exactly what SEO is all about, is knowing where, what things from a map result, from a Google My Business result, from organic result, understanding what results, what information shows up for a given search, and then being able to optimize for that. And then understanding how your business is portrayed in search. Go do a Google search of your brand name today and take a look. Most of you probably did a really good job at your Google reviews, and you probably have really good Google reviews, but check if you're getting reviews being pulled from other sources like Yelp, like Yellow Pages, where you might have a very small volume, and that small volume might not be positive. This is a very common thing that we see, is a lot of dealers focus on Google reviews, as you should, and you get that rating nice up and high, but then you have some other platforms with a couple of stragglers that really get pushed to the forefront when you do a branded search, is you often see these other smaller negative, potentially negative reviews show up higher for your branded search. So do a branded search for your dealership. Do it on desktop, do it on mobile, take a look at what you see, and if anything needs to change there, I would be actioning that. Okay, so right before we get into some of the optimizations, it's always helpful to understand how to measure the success of an SEO campaign. So before you implement, how are you going to measure? So there's two really great tools that you should have on your website today. And if you don't, I would make that the first thing that you do before you do any of the things that I'm going to recommend. Ensure you have Google Analytics on there, tracking all of your pages. Even take that a step further and implement some goals, like the goals for leads and BDP views. Then ensure your website has Google Search Console. Google Search Console, if Google Analytics is that tool to show you data about how your site is performing and how when the people come to your site, where they're going, Search Console is that diagnostic tool that's telling you what are the things that are wrong with your website, where are the issues, where are the problems, where are the pages that are missing, right? So both of these tools are critical in both ensuring that you optimize well and ensure that you're successful in what you're optimizing for. Other great tools, like some of the brands that I'm showing you on the screen here, are based around tracking the rankings of your keywords. Knowing where you come up in Google search for a Toyota RAV4 in Edmonton and seeing the growth of that keyword over time, again, is another great indicator to understand if the things that you're doing are successful. The two brands that I have here, SEMrush and Ahrefs, those are two really good brands for rank tracking. Search Metrics is great as well, a little on the pricier side, probably more focused for dealer groups, but nonetheless, keyword rank tracking, make sure that's a part of your arsenal when trying to measure success of an SEO campaign. And then what are we measuring for success from an SEO campaign? Most people are going to go to, okay, I want more traffic and I want more leads. But if you think about this study that Google did that they presented at NADA a couple years back, only 26% of people who purchase a vehicle are actually submitting a lead, right? So we can't just optimize for form submissions. We have to look at more things. We have to look at phone calls. We have to look at text and chat, time on site, people going to your contact or directions page. Most importantly, BDP views. Right? Are the customers getting to my vehicles? Are they looking at them? Are they spending time there? These are things that you can implement into Google Analytics to track very well as a measure of success for your SEO campaign. Okay, so a couple takeaways here. Ensure you're monitoring the website traffic of your site. Look for underperforming pages. Look for pages that you're optimizing and ensure that they're getting more traffic. Track your keyword rankings and ensure you're not just looking at traffic and leads. Look at multiple KPIs. Look to see if you're growing those VDP views and some other metrics to ensure that you're successful in your SEO campaign. Okay. Thanks. So now we've got an understanding of what Google wants. We've got an understanding of what the customer is driving in terms of demand. We know what search results look like, and we know how to measure a campaign. Now let's talk about some things that you can actually implement today on your dealership site and your digital brand in general to improve your search engine optimization. So the very first thing are title tags and meta descriptions. So these are the meta tags, two of the most important meta tags you might hear somebody talk about when they talk about SEO, technical SEO. So whenever you do a search in Google, at the very least, Google's going to show a result that's going to contain a title, a description, and the URL of the page. You have the opportunity to influence what dealer puts in that title, or what Google puts in that title and in that description. Ideally, every page on your website should contain a human-readable, click-friendly, value proposition-based title tag and meta description for all of your pages. Now, that might be a bit of an endeavor. So at the very least, make sure the pages that are in your main navigation all have these optimized. Okay, the titles and descriptions, write those out for all of those pages. Very, very important. And if you're using a modern content management system for your website, likely your search result pages and your VDP pages, you don't have to write a title and description for each of those. Usually the modern content management systems have some sort of formula where you can do, year, make, model, etc. Title tags and descriptions, very important. Citations and directory listings is extremely important for any local business, especially an automotive dealer. If you've ever experienced incorrect information in your Google My Business listing, it's probably because you had incorrect citations. Have you ever found, if your dealership has ever moved or changed its name in the last couple of years, likely you have plenty of directories that have outdated information. And when Google looks at all of these directories and they find outdated or conflicting information, different hours, different business names, different phone numbers, one has a tracking number, one has a local number, another has a different tracking number. These are all mixed signals that you're sending Google, and it lowers the confidence in your digital brand. And ensuring that your business, your dealership is listed on the highest value citations possible with the most accurate information is critical. And if your dealership moves or changes its name, fixing all of those citations and directory listings, making them accurate, again, is another critical step. So very important. Creating content is always the biggest driver. This is one of the biggest things that you can do from an SEO standpoint to get traffic to your site, is to create regular content that customers are actually looking for around your brand. Whether that be service-related content, whether that be financing-related content, whether that be model comparison content between your top models and competitive models, creating that content on your site, again, through text, through images, through video, this is extremely important to start benefiting and getting more traffic to your site for the search terms that you want. So think about all the questions, the customers are asking your salespeople around your cars, around your service, and don't just answer that question to the customer. Take those questions, pass them back to your marketing team, or pass them back to somebody that can create content for you around those questions and answer them online. If you can be the source of that answer, the source of the answer for that question online, the customer is most likely to consider your brand and have higher brand recall when they're going. So creating the content contextually, service, finance, sales, this kind of content, creating it on a regular basis, extremely important. We talked about accessibility and that Google takes accessibility and speed into their factors when they're looking at your website. So ensuring that your website loads quickly and on all devices is key. So that sometimes if you drop your website into one of these Google tools or one of these speed tools, they'll give you a laundry list of things that you can do to improve the site speed of your site. I'm going to focus on a few key things that are usually the difference between a good score and a bad score, or a slow site and a fast site. These very small things that websites, not just dealer websites, but websites in general, get wrong all the time. Make sure to load your images in their correct size. What we often find is a webmaster will upload a video or an image, sorry, that's really, really big, and then shrink it down for that device or that page. And what's happening is every time someone goes to the website, they're loading that big heavy image and then being displayed a smaller version of it. So just make that image smaller to begin with, and you're going to save your site on a ton of speed. And I'm not just talking about the dimensions of the image, the actual file size as well. If you have images on your site that are over 100K, you need to take those images back, compress them, and re-upload them. You can get high resolution, good quality, good web safe images under 100K on your website, and they'll look great. And then last, keep in mind all of the scripts you add to your website. A lot of dealers work with a lot of third parties for chat, for tracking, for promotions, and all of these scripts weigh down your website. So make sure that you're only loading the necessary plugins and scripts that you need to run your website, and you get rid of old legacy products or old legacy plugins, because they're going to slow you down. So speed, again, important. And then reviews. So reviews absolutely impacts how your site can rank in search. The more reviews that you have, the more high quality reviews that you have, the better your sites are going to rank. So make sure to ask your happy customers for reviews. If you have negative reviews, even if you have just positive reviews, respond to them. You have to respond to your reviews. Google says that they factor this in. They look at businesses that respond to reviews. Even just a, hey, thanks for leaving us a great note, a simple response like that. Go back and maybe the last few months of reviews, if you have hundreds, you don't got to go back 2 years, but the last few months of reviews, and then consistently moving forward, respond to each and every one of them. It's very important. And then once you get a good diversification of reviews on Google, look at Yelp, look at Facebook, look at DealerRater, look at these platforms that are showing up when you Google your brand name, and make sure your reviews are good on those platforms. But don't do any of these things. Don't incentivize reviews. Don't tell a customer, hey, review us and we'll give you a $10 Timmy card. You never want to incentivize. It's okay to ask, but don't incentivize. Don't send an email blast asking for reviews. If you've been getting 1-2 reviews a week for the last couple years, and then Google sees a spike of 50 reviews in one day, that's a bad sign. Don't send email blasts asking for reviews. And ensure that you're not asking your customers to review you at the dealership. Google spends a lot of time identifying spam and fake reviews, and they know most of the time where somebody is, especially if they're on mobile, when they leave that review. And if they see everybody leaving the review from your dealership, that's a bad sign. Okay, so reviews, again, important. And then the last thing that I'm gonna leave you guys with from an optimization standpoint is the one that I think is the most underutilized tactic in dealership SEO today, and a huge opportunity if you're a franchise dealer or you're a dealership and you offer service and parts. This is a major opportunity for you to increase the business to those two profit centers. Almost all of you should have a Google My Business listing for your dealership. Typically, that's the case. But you should also have separate individual Google My Business listings for your service department and a separate one for your parts department. And don't just take this recommendation from me. Google specifically calls out the automotive industry as an industry which should be having these department listings. It's in their support documentation. So ensure you have all of these listings verified, completely filled out, updated with correct information, and then you can update them with content, repurpose content through them with Google Posts. And what you're going to see is more and more traffic from service and parts related content, right? A good way to show value and why you would want to do this for your dealership. Go do a Google search for auto repair shop or car service center or something like this in your area, and look at the number of dealerships that show up for those search queries. Very few, if not none, for the first 10 results. And that's because dealerships don't have these listings, right? If you do have these listings, that now gives you the opportunity to show for auto repair shop, car service center, oil change bay, whatever it may be. Having these listings is what gives you that opportunity to show for those service and parts related content. So go create these and get these verified today. It's extremely important. If you're a Ford dealer or a Honda dealer, Google created them for you. Go check your area on Google Maps. Google created these for you, and they likely have the wrong information. Because that's my experience. So if you see you already have an automatically created one from Google, claim it and update the information. Okay. So summary of those things, guys: write unique titles and descriptions for all your high value pages, create citations, make sure they're accurate, create awesome content. Make sure that's something ongoing. You're always answering customers' questions with content on your site. Make sure your site loads fast with great imagery, and reduce the number of plugins and scripts and tags that you have slowing down your site. Grow your reviews, respond to your reviews, every single one that you get, and then optimize every square inch of your Google My Business listing. If you're in the back end and you're in your Google My Business listing and there's an empty field, fill it with something. Okay. Again, if you do these 6 things, you're going to be ahead of most of your competitors. Like I said at the beginning, many of the dealerships in Canada do a few of these things. Very few of them do all of these things. Okay. Okay. Well, that's the information I had to share with you guys today. I'm hoping we'll take some time here to answer some questions. So I'll take a look here. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and pop them into the chat now, and I'll answer them. First, we got one from Luke. Luke's asking us, how often should we be creating custom content, and how can we find good keywords? Great question, Luke, because yeah, creating content is some of these things easier said than done. The frequency of which you create that content, that's usually, I'd love it if you created content, multiple times a week or multiple times a month. We'll let your budget and timing dictate your frequency, but how to find good keywords, there's plenty of tools online. If you do a search for Google, or if you do a Google search for keyword research tools, you're going to find a bunch of different tools where you can put in a bunch of search terms, and it's going to show you how many times people search for those search terms in your area, and relevant ones, other ones similar to the one that you looked for. And if you find that there's a lot of people asking, use that as your basis for creating your content at your given frequency. Great question, Luke. George and Craig both asked, can we get a copy of the presentation, and can we get an email with the deck? Absolutely, guys. The presentation and the recording of the webinar are both going to be shared with everybody after the presentation. We'll send that out to everybody, so not a problem. You'll have that. We have George asking us here, what kind of information can you add to your Google My Business listing? So in your Google My Business listing, you can not only have your dealership name, your hours, and a link to your website, but did you know you can actually also include your products, your makes and models? You can actually include the services that you provide at the dealership. You can link deeper. There's multiple other links you can use to link deeper into the website. So there's many many different things that you can add to your Google My Business listing. You could even add a description of your business. This is something that Google did about a year ago, is they added a description for your business that you can optimize and implement to ensure that people get a quick summary of what your business is about. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any other questions. If you have any now, this is your last opportunity. If not, everybody for joining the webinar today. Like I said, we'll send everything out. I hope you got some good practical information for what you can do to help optimize your website from an SEO standpoint today. So yes, and if you would like a free assessment of your website, our trader is offering to do a free audit of your website to look for missed opportunities that you or your team can do to improve the quality and visibility of your website in search. So go to go.trader.ca/SEO and sign up today to get that free assessment and audit. Thank you, everybody, for your time.